Shree Ram. Welcome to the GLAC studio. This is Gomathi Siva Sankaran. This particular video is going to cover a making of journey of this painting, Sitaramam. Most importantly, it will be structured in a manner that 10 different aspects that have helped me throughout this journey will be covered in this video. Most important challenges to understand when it comes to working with such a spiritual artwork, the restrictions to be aware of, the creative liberty that one could take as an artist, as a creative person. From my perspective, from the learnings that I've had so far, I would like to share in this video. It will also be interesting for you if you are interested in creating something similar in terms of spiritual content or spiritual artwork. It will be interesting for you to understand the length and breadth and depth that is involved when it comes to doing a research work that makes up this artwork. So all this will be covered, but just before that, what I will do is to give a quick background about myself, just for the benefit of those who are tuning in for the first time. My name is Gomathi Siva Sankaran and I am an Indian woman living in Denmark. I have been living here for about 12 years now. The life that I've had so far had art as a very important part of it. However, in the manner that we think of it as a hobby. I have been painting all my life, creating something all my life, but sporadically, as and when mood permits, time permits, I have been doing it. But in the last few years, I did start taking it up a little more seriously, honing into it, not just from the point of view of art, but also from the point of view of a tool that could help you enhance yourself, enhance your personality and such. And that's what I also propagate in my other parts of the business as well. And getting into this genre that I'm working on currently, this happened I think few years ago only. I have been painting art in any form that I could get my hands on, not necessarily restricted to a particular genre. I think it did take me a long time for me to figure out personally the kind of genre that will be more motivating or I will be passionate about. The genre found me and I found the genre only a few years ago, I would say. I entered the space of using art for diversity, which means essentially we are also looking into spirituality. So the area of spirituality and diversity art really appealed to me and I started working on that. This particular artwork is definitely spiritual in nature. It has to do with Shree Ram ji, Sita Devi, Lakshman ji. Here we have Hanuman ji and Kusa. This painting is what we are going to discuss as a part of this whole video to understand the entire journey and the process involved and much more. So let's get on to each and every topic that I have planned for you in this video. The first one is the idea itself. When it comes to working on Shree Ramji's painting, the first thing that comes to the mind is the Shree Ram Pattabhishekam, which is the coronation ceremony of Shree Ramji. The images, pictures are readily available on the net. There are so many versions of it. There's so many beautiful artwork already available. So this is a fantastic idea from the point of view that resources or reference material is easily available, accessible, but at the same time from an artist's point of view, it is also challenging from the point of view that what do we create different from what is available? How do you make it unique and such? And that's where the challenge lies when it comes to working with some kind of spiritual artwork, where there's so many stories already told, enough number of options already available So there is a risk of you getting to copy another artwork. Also an opportunity for you to figure out if there is really something new you could add on to this, add value to this well-known concept, yes or no. I did take the Pattabhishekam image and get started with the idea building. But at the same time, what I was looking at was the children of Sitaram definitely aren't present in the Pattabhishekam image, only for the good reason that during the coronation ceremony, the children were not there at all. So that gave me an idea that it cannot be a Pattabhishekam, a coronation ceremony image itself that I could work if I really wanted to have the children as a part of this image. So the first image that I had taken, I think I can put it up here in one of the screens. Yeah, this is a standard, and I think this standard was the starting point, and it looks very much into the detail of an inner location, or in what do you call a kingdom location, or a palace location maybe, let's say. But this cannot be the thing. It has to be a different location itself. So I had to change the location. That was one leverage I could go to. Another thing was to add the children in the picture. These are the two components I thought maybe I could make different. But still, how much different can it be? With each and every layer of work, which I will come to when we talk about the layers and the details process, with each and every layer, the idea got built into creating something slightly different from the pre-existing images. That's the idea building section. So my learning in summary would be that I know that I'm working on a space or a genre where there are multiple options available, references available. Multiple artists have already done or set their take on these subjects. So the challenge would be to create something new. I do not get afraid of it or feel intimidated that, oh, there is already existing references. I openly accept the idea that I am starting from there, from another guru, let's say, from another senior person. I start from there and I let the idea flow throughout the process, and each and every step I'm open to switching gears and changing slightly wherever I can. And that's how the idea building works for me. I have made peace with this setup because this genre also demands for such a thing, given that we cannot do completely different things with it. There are some limitations. Being a spiritual image, there are some expectations also out of it, so you need to be aware of it. So that's about the idea. The second topic that I wanted to cover is a little more technical. It's the materials. In terms of the materials that I've been using, so we start with first the frame, the canvas itself. It's a canvas that is mounted on a wooden frame, and this is pre-mounted. I haven't done any adjustments or such. It's pre-mounted. It's readily available product that I buy from a good supplier that I'm aware of, that I usually buy from. So it's 150 centimeter in height and 120 centimeters in breadth. So this is the superstructure on which the painting is made. And the materials I use, I think I cover it in great detail also in my tutorial videos. So you can go and have a look at them. I do oil colors mostly, and the oil painting brands that I have been using, not to mention anything particular that I would say. Each pigment is good from its own, brands quality and such. I find all the brands equally good from their own perspective, from the usage, the level of lubricants and such, I would say I have been using an Italian brand, Classico, and an Amsterdam based brand that is Rembrandt and also Van Gogh. And I also use Winsor and Newton. I have a mix of all of them and I'm using those oil paints. Like I said, you can go into the details of it in the other videos that I have. Brushes, I do have the habit of maintaining brushes at a decent level. So for me, it's not so important to get a particular brand brushes. I can manage with store-bought brushes. So those are the brushes that I use, and I do use a lot of the micro brushes, nano brushes, when it comes to the details that I work on at the last. And that is Velvet Touch brush, Princeton, that I use. Otherwise, it's all the same. I think I have covered most of the materials. And this learning from the materials is that when I started working on large canvases or medium sized canvases, I think it was about 10 years ago, I did not really know what to buy and what not to buy. So I have been experimenting. In somewhere down the line, I settled into these set of products, understanding, okay, this works well for me and this doesn't. Looking at the space that I am in and such, what can I do at the optimal best? And that's how I came up with this. So I'm happy with this. And when it comes to working on even larger scapes, uh, I definitely need help from others to help me with the tethering and such. So I haven't done such a thing just because of it. It's not practically possible for me in the space that I'm presently in. Otherwise, I think, yeah, this is a size that I prefer working with if it's a large canvas. Yes, one important thing about the medium is that uh, I use a natural linseed oil, cold pressed linseed oil as a medium. I deliberately do not use any faster drying medium only because I am very sensitive to smells. It's not allergic though for me, but still it's uncomfortable for me to work with. So I prefer a natural way to work. So I use a cold pressed linseed oil throughout, which is advantageous from the point of view that it will slowly mellow down, which gives you time to work with and adjust, readjust, because it's still not dry. But at the same time, that is the same reason it is still not dry. So it takes a little time to dry. When it comes to working on a larger canvases, it's also advantageous any which ways that you are working on one section until that dries, you move on to another section and such. So it doesn't really pose a huge challenge, I think. So this is my personal understanding of the linseed oil that I use all the time for the paintings. Otherwise, there is a normal easel that I have. It's right behind the camera. That's where daylight is also set up. The need for a daylight is really what do you call? It's very important here because we have almost 6 months in this country where there will be very less lighting. Almost around 4 p.m. it becomes dark. So a natural light, a daylight is also needed. So that's another equipment that goes uh, into the work. So I think that's the overall view on the materials being used. This particular painting as such needed about 3 months for me to work with because I was also doing many other things and I was working only in the evenings for 1 hour or 2 hours per day, sometimes on the weekends, which I can manage. Then I push it to 4 or 5 hours. Exceptional cases, 10 to 12 hours also have been done. So that's how I managed to finish this. I started it in April 2024 and finished it in July 2024. Overall, 153 hours of effort put into this artwork. We will come to the details of the process and structure in the next topic that is coming up now. So the next topic is the process itself. The way I approach art, the way I approach oil paintings is, I think, quite similar to many of the artists that are doing it layer by layer. I believe that layer building helps in two aspects. One is that you get an idea, overall big picture of where you want things to be and how the color combinations will start emerging. Will they sit together, yes or no, with each layer of building? Another thing is that as and when you go along with each layer, you also learn and grow as an artist. So you try to do one layer better than the other, even more perfect in the next. So you aim for perfection in steps, in structure, and that gives you a kind of um, good feeling that, okay, I have tried this much and this is what I could do, and I could try to aim for something a little more or a little better than this one in my next layer. That's how I go about it. So in the first layer is usually a wash, complete wash, and then I start structuring. I definitely use the method of golden ratio or dynamic symmetry, or just for the sake of gridding, just a grid. Sometimes when you are just making a copy or a reference, exact reference of an image, I prefer just a grid. I think, for example, a portraiture, I'm also presently working on portraiture of my own parents and grandparents, which is essentially a copy from their older pictures. So that's again a grading technique. So I do follow some mathematical techniques, definitely, to arrive at the right proportions. I still do make mistakes. I think this is part of the journey, which I learn and understand as and when the layers go along, and I try to correct my best. That is about the process. One more thing about the process, just before we get on to the fourth topic, is the practice. I think how much ever I talk about it will be less. Practice only makes things perfect. This is something I have also learned. I think in the beginning I also mentioned that I started art like a hobby and living the life of a student, a college goer, or office goer, something like that, and using this as a hobby, time pass, to be precise. When you switch it from that zone to a daily practice, and that becomes a part of your routine, a structure, then it definitely makes a difference in the kind of work that you're doing, no matter how talented you are. Even if I know that many people have the talent of just taking 1 hour and doing a brilliant job and not doing anything at all for 2 3 months, and then they go back to working and creating another brilliant job, which is fantastic. You feel definitely elated about it, that you could create, in a spur of a moment. Still, I would say, if you are able to do something like that, then just imagine with daily practice where you could reach. The potential is even higher, I would say. And that's what I have also learned. I have seen more much more talented people or students along with me in my college or school days who never touched art again in their lives. It so happened, unfortunately, and it's just because of the lost practice. Maybe they have some other things in life to take care of, so it's also important. So full respect to that. But if you can hone into making it a part of your daily life and making some time for it, quality time for it, the daily practice really helps. I think that is one important aspect to have seen this day and be able to sit in front of this artwork. So all full respect to anybody that is doing this in that form of taking it as a daily practice. Wish everyone gets to do that as well. Okay, so let's get on to the fourth topic. This is the listening. So when it comes to working with art or some creative work, very honestly said, blatantly said, this is a lonely process. You will be sitting with yourself for many hours. Yeah, if not 1 hour, let's say many hours, definitely, which means there must be some kind of things that will keep you motivated. A lot of people do listen to music, listen to podcasts and such. I think that is the very natural progression one takes, that okay, I am going to be sitting alone with this paper, with the canvas and the paint. So let me listen to something while I'm working, or watch something while working. That's also something I have done. So initially when I started off, I also did the same thing: music, podcast, TV series, just anything about it would help me. But eventually, and I think it was also a natural progression, and it had to do a lot with what is now produced. I started categorically listening to spiritual songs or spiritual podcasts, or even debates relating to that, getting into discourses and such. And that really helped me hone into the knowledge aspect of it. That comes back to the topic of the length, breadth, and depth of what you're doing. The quality improves with daily practice, definitely. I agree with it. But the knowledge of why you're doing what you're doing, why are these important characters prayed to, why are these important characters so much valued spiritually, the answer to these questions, the more and more you get closer to it, the easier it becomes to understand the why and the what behind your artwork. That naturally propels you into giving your best towards the art. And let's put a very simple example. Let's take a couple of simple examples. Let's say that you are going to work on an artwork of your parents or your let's say a spouse or somebody well known. You will have a thorough understanding of the person, the personality. You're not just painting the person, you're also painting a personality, and that helps you give a little more edge to the quality of work, isn't it? The same goes for spiritual artwork. Unfortunately, we cannot meet all the god and goddesses, or all the important characters from history when we are working on diversity and such. But all we can do is to hone into that kind of topic, and that kind of discussions, books and such. I prefer reading books though, but unfortunately when we are working on paintings, it's really hard to be seated and reading as well. So audio books really replace the physical books when I started moving more and more into the art. So naturally I moved into audiobooks and podcasts and such. Just for the benefit of those who are curious on this particular painting, I want to just read out the podcasts and the books that I have been listening to. So this particular painting definitely is from Ramayana. Therefore, I started listening to Sundaragandam, which is an essential section of the Ramayana. Ramayana itself, Kali Yuga Dharmam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and I started listening to first Velukudi discourses, which is in Tamil language. Then I went on to listening to the discourses of Mr. Dushyant Sridhar, Dr. Venkatesh. All these three videos or the discourses available on the net are in Tamil language, but Mr. Dushyant Sridhar's work is also available. I think he also uploads videos in English language because he travels across many countries, and when he gives discourses to Indians or people living in other countries, he does give it in English. So there's also an English version for those who are curious about who is this person that I've painted. You can also go into that. The musical versions I started listening to were Rasaraj Ji Maharaj. The podcast version or spiritual podcast that I would refer to definitely would be that of TRS, which is Ranveer Alabadia's podcasting, and he does invite spiritual gurus and similar people in his podcast. That helps to understand a little more on that aspect, not necessarily spiritual. Sometimes I also listen to archaeologists and people who are historians, geopoliticians, also to understand the length and breadth of the content that I'm working on. I also listen to Jaya Kishori, again a spiritual discourse. This gentle lady gives it in Hindi language. So these are the content that I have been listening to. Another thing that I would say that doesn't matter what you listen to, when you listen to it again and again, each time you listen to it you get another perspective of it. And the reason why I chose listening to the similar content made by different people was also to get what is there. They're also creative people in that manner. They are putting out spiritual content, let's say. So it's their take and how they want to explain, let's say Valmiki Ramayanam, how they want to explain is definitely different, from one person to the other. Their approach is different and the audience is also different. The content is definitely different, and that gives a very good understanding of different perspectives, the angles. It comes back into the restrictions and also the creative liberty one can take. So you just take, hone into all that knowledge, and that starts reflecting into the quality. I have worked on spiritual art without knowing what it is, without researching, which I would say it has been good from that point of view. I have done a very good copy maybe of it, but the difference I could definitely feel that I know a little more, 1% more than what I did yesterday, gives a little more edge to the quality of work that I'm able to deliver. So this is my learning. You can share your thoughts on what do you think about these things. Next topic is the research work. I guess right now from the listening section itself, you would have now understood that there's a lot of details that go into this. A research work is essentially also a part of this listening, but I would say to put in some time into researching the concepts, researching why you are trying to do this, always helps. This particular case, the research work needed was comparatively less. I had previously worked on, you could check out my previous videos, I had previously worked on a series of artwork paintings called the Celebrate Diversity series, where I used references from Hindu religion, mythology, and also I used multicultural aspects where I had to club two cultures to build in diversity, cultural diversity, and such. And that needed a lot of research work. I think the first 10 or 20 percentage of the whole time involved in the project needed much more of research. And even in the midst of the project itself, we had to make a stop because the next level of layer needed a little more research work before stepping into it. So that I have really learned as something that helps you make a difference. Coming back to the same point and again, that when it comes to spiritual, everything looks obvious, everything looks already done by someone. So this research work is very important from the point of view of a creative person thinking of where exactly can I take a creative liberty and do something slightly different, slightly unique, and slightly, what do you call, your own brand, maybe at one point. So yes, research work. And a part of research work also involves building a good network. When it comes to a particular topic, I think it is helpful to have the kind of network that will give you a little more inputs, insights into it. Let's take something different off base. For an example, let's say that tomorrow I want to start working on animals, wild animals, as my subject for paintings. Now, I have lived a city life all my life. So yes, I can Google search and download so many pictures and videos and watch them again and again and do my best. But it will always be an added advantage if I could just pick up a camera, go around wildlife and try to take some pictures. I think many of the artists that are into professionals that are into this will say that they take a break and go for a tour and visit some wildlife sanctuaries, try to take their own pictures. It's not that no pictures are available on the net or something, it's just that they want to have the personal connect. It makes a lot of difference. That I would say is very important from that point of view. It definitely gives them an edge. When it comes to the research work, doing your own pictures helps, but also understanding the subject matter helps. For some, you could do your own homework. Of course, there's so much data available. For some, you need another interpreter, another person who knows a little more to help you with. So, I do build a network of, let's say, priests or gurus or somebody that has spent his or her lifetime honing into this particular genre of knowledge. Yeah, and I do take their advice, suggestions. Am I doing it right? I'm going to combine two cultures. Is it going to affect it? I want it to have a positive impact. Ultimately, what I aim for is a positive impact. But is it going to create a negative impact accidentally? How do I make sure that I don't do it and such? I prefer discussing it with that focus group, let's say. So, a part of the research work will also be a focus group. The next topic, this is my favorite, it's called the lifestyle. Yes, so with the kind of discussions we have been having, I think it's not a surprise to figure out that one has to have a particular lifestyle to be able to adapt into this kind of working structure. So you need to have time for all this, build time for all this, and also be able to balance all the energy. Maybe you are also a working person full time, you have children, you have many other responsibilities outside, and you still want to capture this talent in you and bring it out. So, definitely, it requires a kind of structure, a principle in your own lifestyle. For me, the life that I want to work with or live has a lot to do with the art, and it has to be in sync with art. So I choose to do yoga. Sometimes I do go for a good walk, a long walk, and a high intensity training also. Sometimes when I have to, crunch in a lot of hours, I do that as well. And I do use proportionately, going by what my mind, body and soul needs for the day. And the food I do take care of course. I love um, eating different kinds of food, but I do keep a track on what I'm eating. You are what you eat, and it did strike me at some point that if I am careless with the eating habits and sleeping habits, and also the not working out, not doing anything, it does impact the kind of quality that I'm able to deliver in the work. So I really learned that a good meal, a good quality food has a good impact, and thereby that. So that's about it. That's the lifestyle that I have kind of structured. It didn't happen in a day, definitely, but very slowly, gradually, I started putting in these changes, and I started seeing that difference also. When you are disciplined in that manner, it does help in whatever you are doing. Doesn't matter this. That's about the lifestyle. One more thing about the lifestyle that I want to say is that you might be very good and in maintaining your own good self physically, but I would definitely suggest that you consider it from the mind, body, soul level. See what your mind, body, and soul will need for the day. Choose something like that, and this is something that I have personally learned. For example, if I choose a particular exercise, so let's say yoga, I'm choosing something for the day based on the kind of day I would have. And this is quite natural because the work structure itself is slightly different versus let's say the life that I had worked with. Most of my years of work were involving only a laptop. So I was just seated like this, and that's the kind of work I've been working. Versus this needed a lot of movement of my hands up and down across the large canvases, and being seated into a minute detail for many hours and such. The body itself, takes pressure in different places, especially around the neck. People have the cervical, problems, spondylosis and such as well. So you tend to choose something that will help you stretch and ease those nerves as per the kind of work that you are doing. And that's what I would also suggest. Definitely you need to take your doctor's advice. If you have serious issues with something, do get a checkup or something to be sure what you are doing before you do something. But this is just my personal journey that I'm sharing here, that I tend to choose the type of exercises or yogic practices, or even meditation that I do regularly, from the point of view of how is it going to help me maneuver through this day, through all the requirements of this day with justification. So that's about it. Now we get to some more practicalities of the painting itself. So the painting is done. The next step, this is this is titled the post production. So I'm going to look at some key activities. Post production on an oil painting is very typically you preparing the canvas for sale, meaning waiting for the right time to put in the varnish and put in your names or writing the details behind the canvas and such. Or if you are going to put it up in an exhibition, you're making sure that the hanging, the ear screws are put in and such. So these are all practicalities. But aside from that, because I'm working on spiritual artwork, I do something additionally. And this, I think you would have seen in some of my videos that I do some puja prayer as and when possible, and this is something that came naturally. It's not a requirement from somebody, or it's not a to do list or something, but naturally it grew into the thought process that whatever I am creating is an the end product is not a product, it's something personal for someone that is buying. Even if the person is buying a print or a original, doesn't matter, they are buying it for the purpose of prayer and keeping it probably in their own personal spaces where they pray and spend a personal time sitting and meditating or such. So just to give that positive vibes, I do take care of such activities. So I do make sure that some puja or such happens just after the time when the painting is finished. For this, I do take help from my friends who are a little more professional in this. They understand better of how to do a puja or such. So I do take help from them to do this. Aside from this, one other thing that is important, and this is something that I have personally learned. You might have a different take on it, and you can share your thought process on this. The prints itself, um, when you are printing a spiritual artwork, the painting itself has a different structure and tonality just because the colors of a printer is not the same, and it is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it per se. Let's say some brands, Canon has the ink. Canon's ink is different from HP's ink, from the another product, let's say Brother. So the product output is different, and that will have a different impact to the eyes of the viewer as well. This is very difficult to understand. And in the beginning, when I made some paintings which I thought I was doing a good job, are good enough, okay, but the output, the print output, gives a feeling that it could have been much more clearer. So that's also a reason why I started adding few more layers into the work. In the beginning, I was happy with 2 3 layers, and then I started adding layer number 4 or 5 or 6, depending upon the kind of details and intricacies that I want to put in, that will be clear. Doesn't matter the size or the different formats that they get into, it affects that. So the quality of it, you need to be slightly aware. This I would also add as another point within this as a subtopic, that even if you are not aware of Photoshop or GIMP or similar tools, how the photographers work, the professionals work when it comes to making a print content, try to understand it, learn it, at least from the end user perspective, so you're able to rethink your idea at the preparation, the painting stage itself, production stage itself, so you are not so disappointed when the print comes out and thinking, okay, that's not something that I aimed at, and this is not satisfactory, or your customer, somebody is calling up and saying this is disappointing or something. Yeah, so learning this will definitely help, I would say. Yeah, the next topic itself was art prints. So art prints definitely need that time and space to understand. So if we have to go specifically into art prints, the tools that I have, I am not a photographer. I am definitely not someone who's into all these tools, but I have learned that I do take help of graphic designers whenever it needs such support. And they use Photoshop. I also have a tool in my laptop that is called GIMP, which is very close to Photoshop, and I do adjust certain things myself, put it up. I also have the benefit of an A2 printer in my own studio, so I can print it out physically and test and see if it is wrong. So that's the only way I know how to test and tell that this is right or wrong. So if you do not have such a benefit, the best idea will be to take the help of a graphic designer or or somebody that is into photography, into prints or such, and get to understand how things work, the photos work. Sit with them, take some time. It will definitely be an investment, even though you're not going to be a photographer, let's say. Understanding that will definitely help you improvise your quality of output as an artist, so that the delivery is seamless throughout. Doesn't matter which format you are making it for, because paintings can always be reused in so many other format. You can print it on a mug, print it on a t-shirt. So there are so many ways to sell your artwork, and not just in the canvas format. But if you really want to explore and expand into all this, understanding these tools will definitely be an added advantage. This is something I have personally learned. I do take help of professionals, but at the same time I'm aware of what kind of work are they doing on my painting, on the output that I am delivering. So that's the ninth topic, the prints, the art prints. The last but not the least is the upcoming projects, what I'm going to be working on. So now that I am finished, this is into post production mode. I'll be working still on this, but not on the canvas, because there will be some post production activities, just as we talked about in the previous last two subtopics. But while I'm doing that, the plan is also to start working on another diversity series. It's called Arumugam. The similar ones that I had done a couple of years ago, Ashtalakshmi, the Celebrate Diversity series, 8 little girls in the form of goddesses. This will be 6 little boys in the form of um, small little gods from 6 different countries. Hopefully that is something that I am planning to work on. That will be the next project. And I also work on some tutorial format all the time. Some of them are not in tutorial format, like this one was never done in a tutorial format because of the exorbitant size and also the planning I had to do. But most of the paintings that I work on, I also try to work in the tutorial format. So the content is also given in the tutorial format, which means there will be a camera covering every single aspect of what I am painting, what I am not doing, and such. And I try to deliver or explain what I am doing in the part of the process. So you can find all my tutorials in my channel, in the social media. So I also do that. So this series that I'm going to be working on is going to be a tutorial format, which will involve a little more planning, because it's not just me, the editing graphic designer and the editing team, they and she will also have something to work with along with me. So each and every time a video is made, I'll have to hand it over to her, and she will be working on correcting it, editing it, and preparing it for the tutorial format. So which means we do follow a project methodology of, start to finish, who will hand over when to who and such. So it's a complete planning that happens. So that's an upcoming project. I am also aware that spiritual projects do happen in a manner that it is totally unexpected. So given that this is the plan, if there is something new that is coming up, I'm always open to that, and I am open to letting that energy guide me wherever I want. So until such time, yes, this will be the next project work going on. There is a small series of watercolor tutorials kind of that I'm also working on. That once in a while I'll also be uploading videos on the same. So that's about it. The Sitaramam journey has helped me understand a little more, or understand how little I know about Ramayana. So that is helping me go into a path of understanding more and more into Valmiki's Ramayana, as and when time permits, when the knowledge doors open. I guess I will be ready to make a larger, even larger artwork of Pattabhishekam, that is the Shree Rama coronation, which I initially started with, but I never got to that. So maybe, yes, that will be some point in time in life, as is decided by all the gurus. I guess this video has been useful for you in some way or the other. If you have connected personally to any one of the topics, please do write to me. If you have different experiences about how you go around working with similar artwork, please do share your experiences. If you have a very different understanding of spiritual artwork from the coming from the culture, because the cultures are different, and you have a different take, please do share, because I also want to learn and understand. The more we share, the better it is with respect to this. I'm so happy to listen to that as well. Thank you very much. And thanks to each and every one of you that have joined in and been listening to this patiently. Thanks to all of you that have been supporting this journey in last 3 months. God bless you all. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay blessed. Jai Shri Ram.